Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in. We begin the 3 o'clock hour here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone with JJ and Alex. I'm Jeremiah Jensen. Sitting by me, Sly Sylvester. Alex still out today, but we get to hear from Sly again, which is what you all really want. So I'm going to go home.
I would hope so.
I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to sit here and we're going to listen to Sly talk for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's the bad thing is I hate hearing myself talk.
We all do. If you want to get into this business, you have to put up with that because you're on TV, you're on radio, or whatever it is, and we all hate ourselves.
Right. We are our biggest critics, that's for sure.
We all hate ourselves.
As much as you guys think you hate Sly.
Sly's got you beat.
Right.
No, I can tell you as someone who's done this for more than 20 years now, that's not the easiest part of the job.
Right.
And you got to watch yourself and you got to listen to yourself, and you're your biggest critic, and so you'll drive yourself nuts. All of you out there listening can probably relate to that in whatever business you work in or whatever your skills are or hobbies or whatever. You're always your biggest critic. So, but that's part of the deal. That's how you get better. That kind of works in sports, though, right, Sly? I mean, you made it to the professional level.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think being honest with yourself and critiquing yourself, there's got to be a fine line, right? Because you don't want to drag yourself down too much. Just like you would, I mean, if you treated yourself in a certain way that you treat others and you're viewed as a bully, I mean, you're just doing that to yourself, right? So what's that fine line when it comes to athletes, how disciplined they have to be, how tough they have to be? Because we know coaches can be really hard on players, but how hard can a player be on himself?
Man, this is the question. Right? Like, that is so great. As soon as you said that, I'm just like perked up. I'm just like, whoa. Because, like, one, you almost got to tell yourself lies, too.
Well, Tom Brady was a liar. Michael Jordan was a liar. They told fairy tales of themselves about, they made up stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've
to stay motivated.
Been in locker rooms with James Harrison and some crazy dudes like Antonio Brown, like these guys. The stuff
you got us on Antonio Brown.
The stuff that you would have to tell yourself to be better or work harder, right? And set yourself up. I used to do stuff to where I would say that somebody said something to me and I'd just flip out, right? And it got me an edge in a game. I'm like, what'd you say? And like it would be stuff like that where you'd have to push yourself to next levels. But it's as you said, you got to really manage that. You can't go too far, right? But you can't go too lenient because then you get comfortable. And comfortable is the worst spot you can be at anywhere, right? And so there is a fine line. There's an extremely fine line with all that. But you push yourself to the brink. And I know I had to, and I know I still do today. It's part of my everyday life. But you know, it's definitely a mental game for sure.
There's a pro athlete that is probably doing this right now, and the spotlight's going to be on him tonight in a way we haven't seen for an NBA player for a while, and it's Luka Doncic. Because Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the world. There's no doubt about that. Top 5, maybe even make the argument top 3 at his peak. Who the organization he was traded on draft day, but essentially drafted to, spent his entire career with, basically said, we don't believe you're who everyone thinks you are. We don't want to pay you what you'd have to pay that player. We're going to send you somewhere else. You're one of the best players in the world, and you got rejected. Isn't that what happened with Luka? Luka Doncic was rejected by the Dallas Mavericks. You're one of the best players in the world. So I can't imagine the mental process that Luka's had to go through over the last couple of weeks since that trade happened. And it culminates tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. Your Lakers are playing the Dallas Mavericks. Luka's going to get a shot at his old team. And we're all going to be watching because we're all thinking, oh, if he's the killer we think he is, he's going to really make the Mavericks pay tonight. How much can you get caught up in that game of trying to prove them wrong. You're one of the best players in the world, and you're playing a game tonight where you feel like you got to go prove the other team wrong.
Right.
But Michael Jordan did that all the time.
All the time.
Tom Brady did that all the time. The greats. I mean, we can continue to list off all the best players that have ever played any sport. Tiger Woods. He did the same stuff. But Luka's got to do that tonight. And I just find it really fascinating that one of the best players in the world had to deal with the same kind of rejection we all deal with. We all have a kid that got cut from a team. Luka essentially, he didn't get cut technically, but the Mavericks said, we're done with you.
Right.
Crazy that it could happen to even the greatest on the planet.
Yeah, and I think that you got to really play that. And I think you got to know yourself, right? I think Michael Jordan knew that, me telling myself this made me play better in these situations. Tom Brady, I think those type of guys knew themselves better than anybody else, right? And so I think that, Luka needs to understand himself and what it does. Like, when do you play your best game? Right? Are you suited up where it's you against the world, or your team against the world, and it's just you guys, or it's like, is it you? Like, do you have to tell yourself? I think he just needs to really understand himself and how to get himself going, right? Because, the way he played the other night against the Nuggets was just amazing. He had 20 in the first half, 10 rebounds already. He's just one of those guys that get it done. And his unorthodox play, you just never, for me watching, I'm just like, how is he doing the things that he's doing? Like, why are these elite defenders not being able to shut him down? Right? So I think Luka just needs to make sure he understands himself. But that mental game and what you have to do to be a lead and go along with the media narratives that everybody creates. Because everything you said about the Mavericks was done, but it wasn't said. So what did you take from that, right? What did you individually...
They said stuff about his weight. They said stuff about not believing that he was that player.
He still looks the same way he's been looking.
I know. So I don't know what that was all about, but it's really fascinating. It's going to be crazy to watch. We'll probably revisit this a little bit later on, but we got to start the show right. We got to give love to our sponsor, G2G Bars, with all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein. G2G Bars are perfect for anyone who needs a tasty and nutritious boost. The Utah Jazz avoided disaster last night. They didn't win, but they played darn good.
I was about to say they lost, right?
They played darn good. They're the cut at 3 o'clock.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This segment also brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Give Trajan Wealth a call today, your local financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Yeah, it was almost a disaster last night. The Jazz almost won that game. Keontae George did everything he could, and his shot at the end that would have won it hit rim after making 2 straight threes. They were down 5 points with 14 seconds left to go, and they never gave up. But last night is exactly, Sly, what this team needs to be doing. If you're a Jazz fan, look, you're dealing with the pain of this team not being very good, and it's not over by any means. It's going to continue, unfortunately. That's just the truth. But what you want to see from this franchise right now is the young guys showing promise, the team fighting and competing and giving it their all, and still coming away with a L. Because you got to get those ping pong balls. Why? Because we're going to poop for Coop this year. That's what the Jazz are doing. And they're doing it well. They're the third to last, tied for the Pelicans for the second worst record in the league right now.
Right.
You want to finish bottom 3 to get the highest percentage of lottery odds. And they're doing that. But in the same time, in all seriousness, in the same process, you're seeing young guys show their promise. How about Kyle Filipowski? Now, Sly, you can appreciate this. You were not a first-round draft pick in the NFL. Kyle Filipowski wasn't a first-round draft pick in the NBA. Despite the fact that coming into his sophomore season at Duke, he was projected to be a lottery pick. And we talked about Luka in the opening of, having to competitors and these athletes, you have to process a lot of different things because you don't always get what you want. You don't always get the reward. Sometimes people doubt you. Sometimes you're not the number 1 pick. Sometimes you're number 32. Kyle Filipowski was the 32nd pick last year in the draft. And coming out of Duke, there was a lot of excitement about him, and there was a thought that he was going to be a lottery pick, but it didn't work out that way. I think that was really hard for him. He was at the draft, right? So sometimes, though, and you talk about this all the time, it's not about when you're taken, it's where you go.
Oh, for sure.
And it seems like for Kyle Filipowski, this has been a really good spot for him. A place where he can develop, a place where he's happy.
Gain experience.
A place where he's going to get a lot of minutes, and that's exactly what he's been doing right now. But last night was a really good sign for Kyle Filipowski and for this young team. We'll get into some of the players and their effort last night, but I wanted to start with Flip because he comes off he actually started last night because they were so shorthanded. This is a rookie that was taken, like I said, early second round last year, doubted by many, passed on by many. I don't know how many of those teams would have passed on him if they knew he was capable of getting 20 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block on 6 of 11 shooting and 4 of 4 from 3. That's pretty darn good. Look.
At 6'11", that's a body.
Yes, 6'11", 250. And look, you see his versatility. He's a good ball handler. Now, I think they'd like to probably see him run the court with the ball a little bit less because he's not a point guard. But I love that Kyle Filipowski believes that he can do that, and he shows that. He's got elite ball handling skills for a big. He's obviously a very good three-point shooter. Perhaps, if you're looking for something he needs to improve on, he probably wants to get a little stronger. Is he a true 5 in this league? I think he's a good stretch 4. And he probably could play 5 in a pinch. He did last night. He did all right. But 36 minutes, and you're getting 20 points and 11 rebounds. Those are amazing numbers. You just proved in the NBA level that you can get 20 and 10. And the Jazz know they've got a rookie that can get 20 and 10 in this league. That's the kind of progress and the steps that the Jazz are looking for and that we talk about through this rebuild. Those are the things you need to celebrate. Look, it is what it is. This team is not anywhere near contending, nor will they be for a while. But as a fan, you want to see progress and you want to see some of these young guys develop. And you saw a lot of that last night. Bryce Sensabaugh, 21 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. The Jazz as a team shot 41% from 3. Keontae George didn't have his best game, but when they needed somebody to step up in the clutch, he knocked down 2 straight threes. He made some buckets. He ended up with 21 points. But Sly, you see the development of these guys. And right now, that's the key for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, I mean, experience is the best teacher, right? I talk about it, constantly, and what I gotten versus what I wish I would have had in certain instances in my professional career is the experience. You can study all day long, but if you don't go in there and do it just like that, if I was cooking, right? If I was a chef, a baker, whatever it is, I could look at recipes all day, right? But until I actually make it, that's when it becomes a real thing. Right. And so there's so many people who I don't follow a recipe. Why don't you follow a recipe? Because I've done this so many times that I know exactly what it takes. And I know that slight difference that's going to make my pie better than their pie. Right. And that's exactly how you got to look at it as an athlete, too. It's like me being in there at this level. I've been in there in college and I had success. Right now, if I can get experience here at the professional level, 20 and 10, the key thing that I need to focus on is I know I can do it. Now I got to be consistent. Same thing with Bryce, same thing with Keontae, same thing with all of these guys who are now getting experience in what the Jazz can see here in the next few years and start trying to win instead of tanking, right? Yeah, man, it was great things for the Utah Jazz to see Filipowski, Sensabaugh, and Keontae come off the bench and do the things that they were doing, right? And so if you can build on that, and it's going to be promise for the future for sure.
Yeah, Isaiah Collier didn't have his best night. He hit that 60-footer at the halftime horn. That was fun. But he'll tell you, it wasn't his best night. He had some moments, but that's the up and downs of a rookie and rookie life in the NBA. But overall, you're looking at these young guys develop, and you have to be excited about that. And that's what it's all about right now for this team. You look at the schedule, the Jazz are in the midst of the longest home stand in franchise history. So before the break happened, they had 2 home games. And then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight. So they have a 9-game homestand. There are 4 games into this stand. Sacramento on Wednesday. Minnesota on Friday. Prediction, Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Walker Kessler, everybody will be in the lineup on Friday. Why? Because the Jazz actually want to win that game. And you're asking, why would the Jazz all of a sudden want to win a game? They're trying to get the ping pong balls, right? We just talked about it. They're trying to get the third. They need to be one of those 3 teams to get the best odds. Well, why not get greedy? The Jazz need to get greedy.
Give Danny Ainge some more draft picks. Come on.
Well, and they got a second pick in the first round, but wouldn't you rather that be a lottery pick? Why wouldn't you want to add to the possibility? Because last year we saw the Atlanta Hawks win the lottery. Mm-hmm. By no stretch were the Atlanta Hawks the worst team in the league last year. In fact, they almost made the playoffs. But they won the lottery, and they didn't have very good odds. So you want to give yourself as many cracks at it as possible, because this is not an exact science. So if the Jazz finish bottom 3 and have the greatest percentage, and let's say the Minnesota Timberwolves miss the playoffs, and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way, right? There's no way. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they went on a deep run last year. They were really good. They're loaded with talent. They have one of the highest payrolls in the league. They got Anthony Edwards. They got Ant. Well, hold on now. The West is very, very competitive. And as you look at the Western Conference standings, what do you see? You see the Minnesota Timberwolves currently 7th in the Western Conference. That would put them in a play-in game situation. Now, what are the teams that they would possibly be playing against in that play-in situation? The Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. That would be hard. That's not a given. The Golden State Warriors just added Jimmy Butler.
And they're playing great.
I think that they're going to move up a few notches in the standings. I just think by virtue of Jimmy being locked in, that dude is a primetime player when he wants to be locked in.
And right now in the standings, there's a 1-game difference. If the Timberwolves would have lost last night.
Game.
Yeah.
If the Timberwolves lose last night, they would have been barely percentage points ahead of the Warriors, but they would have dropped to like 8th or 9th. And that's how fragile the situation is for the Timberwolves. They had to come from 25 down last night to tie the game at the end and took the Thunder to overtime in Oklahoma City and won that game. That was a desperation win for the Timberwolves. Rudy Gobert's injured right now. They're banged up.
Julius Randle's out.
Julius Randle's not playing. So Ant's carrying that roster, and that team could plummet. I also need to mention the Sacramento Kings, who have reloaded with some players. Obviously, they lose De'Aaron Fox, but they added some pieces. They're 10th right now. We'll see if they make a run. But there's another team that you need to mention that could jump into that mix, and it's the Phoenix Suns. I think everyone's waiting for the Phoenix Suns
to take off
with that talented roster to do that, but they've lost 8 of their last 10 games. Like, something's really wrong with that team, despite the star power they have. They have one of the most expensive payrolls in the league as well. They have 2 of the top 10 highest paid players in the league. So my point being is the Timberwolves could plummet, and they could miss the playoffs very easily, despite being very talented.
And as Utah Jazz fans, that's what you want.
Because all of a sudden, the Jazz could have a second lottery pick and a second crack at that pick. And we all know what they want. They all want a chance to get Cooper Flagg because he's going to be a generational talent in this league. I don't have any doubt about that. And the Jazz need that. The Jazz need that guy. They need, whether it's Cooper Flagg or maybe it ends up being somebody else. Maybe there's somebody else in this draft that gives that to them. But right now, that's what they're chasing, and that's what they need to move forward. So keep an eye on that. There's a reason why the Jazz want to win that game on Friday. But a lot of positive things about the Jazz right now. It's obviously not what you want. You want this team to be contending this time of year. You want them to be interesting. You want them to be relevant. But that's not where they're at right now. We're focused on the development of these young players, like Kyle Filipowski, who's the 12th rookie ever to go 20, 10, and 5 with 4 made threes, regardless of three-point percentage. That's a pretty impressive stat line for Kyle Filipowski, showing and proving that he has potential to do some damage in this league. Another thing to keep an eye on tonight, as I mentioned, big game tonight in the NBA. Nice schedule tonight. Jazz are off tonight. Like I said, they'll be playing the Kings tomorrow night, but you've got some pretty good games. Cavaliers Magic is sneaky good in the East. Bucks Rockets will be fun. The Suns are desperate. They're going to be at the Grizzlies tonight.
It's going to be a good matchup.
And, of course, all eyes are going to be on Lakers, Mavericks. Luka Doncic playing against his old team for the first time. That's an 8 p.m. Mountain tip-off. That'll, of course, be nationally televised on TNT. So Luka versus the Mavs will be must-see TV tonight. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we are going to do a little Real Salt Lake talk. We've got a special guest coming up, a member of the team. So if you're an RSL fan, you'll want to hear this interview coming up. Kobi Henry, a defender for Real Salt Lake, will join us next on JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex, with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Little Aerosmith to bring you into the 3:30 segment here on JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Does this have Run DMC in it? Is this the same version? Is this just straight up Aerosmith, or is this the Run DMC version? Okay. Got to mix a little Run DMC in there. That's the best one. Still good stuff, though. Welcome back. Jeremiah Jensen, Sly Sylvester here. JJ and Sly on a Tuesday. JJ and Sly are generous. We want to make sure that we offer you guys opportunities to get stuff on the show, free stuff. Sly, what do you think? Should we give away some tickets?
Always. I think every break we should.
Who wants to see the Utah Jazz take on the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday?
It's going to be a good one.
Who doesn't? Well, call right now, 801-575-ZONE. Caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE can win a pair of tickets to see the Utah Jazz versus the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday, February 28th at Delta Center. It is a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. Already on the phone right now, we are excited to welcome in one of the newest members of Real Salt Lake. Their season got underway last week. We want to welcome Kobi Henry to the show, and welcome to Utah, Kobi. I hope you're enjoying your time here, and thanks for joining us.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
I got to ask you first off, before we dig into the season and all the nuts and bolts of that, I mean, that's a big life change for you to come to Utah. I know you're originally from Florida, but you've been, soccer's taken you around different places. How is your transition going coming here to Utah, and how have you enjoyed it so far?
Yes, sir. I mean, I've enjoyed it a lot. The guys have made it very easy to transition. The team is great. It's like a family. And for me, it was a transition that I had to do for my career. I'm looking to come here and play as much as I can, learn as much as I can, and Real Salt Lake is a great place to do that.
What did you learn from game one? I know it's always this feeling. There's a lot of new faces on this team. It's not the same team we saw last year. I know it didn't go the way you guys wanted. What did you learn in game one against San Jose?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously it did not go how we wanted it to go, but it was a good opportunity to learn some new things that we'll need going forward. I think that we spent a lot of time, breaking down in video, things we can do better defensively, defending more as a unit and maintaining our hope throughout the game. Even if we go one goal down, knowing that we have the ability to come back and win the game. And as well, just making sure that we take advantage of our chances in front of goal. We have to be clinical, and we have to take advantage of every single opportunity we have, because, we're going to win the league this year. So we have to be clinical.
Man, that's awesome, Kobi. So there are a lot of new faces on here. What can we expect from this team? Where are your guys' strengths? Your strengths up front or back in the defense? Where can fans look to see the strengths of Real Salt Lake this year?
For sure. I mean, first off, I would start off just by mentioning how close the group is. I think we have a great group that can work together. We work extremely hard every single day, and I think that will be one thing that would carry us far in the season is just how together we are and how much of a family we are. Mm-hmm. After that, I mean, I think we all complement each other very well, from the defense to midfield to the front line and the goalkeepers. You know, everyone is working together and trying to make each other look good. And then finally just, you know, individual personalities of the whole team. You know, it's a very youthful team, I would say, with a lot of personality. And I think you'll see that a lot this season.
Just a moment ago, you said with a lot of conviction that you guys believe you can win a cup this year. What gives you that kind of confidence rolling in that you guys, once you guys get settled and get things figured out, that you guys can make a run like that?
Yes, no, I mean, I feel like any team should be saying that. You know, that's the point. That's why we're here, is to win. You know, we obviously will take it game by game, but that's the whole reason that we show up every day. We work so hard in training. We watch videos, learn every day. It's all geared towards winning. And I think just everyone's mentality on a daily basis and practice every day, that will transmit into the game on the weekend. I think that's what will carry us through, just our consistency and hard work.
You also mentioned coming to RSL is an opportunity. It's a chance to compete at a higher level for you, and you're going to get a chance to compete at a higher level tomorrow night at 6:30. The second leg of the Champions Cup, you're going to be taking on Herediano from Costa Rica, the second game against them in a week. A draw down there, so it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow night. What did you learn in that first game you guys can take into the second leg to get an upper hand and get a win?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to recognize the way that the game was and the team that we're playing against. You know, they're a team that like to play very direct, so we have to be very, very alert defensively. They like the long ball. You know, we have to always be expecting the worst to happen when they have the ball, expecting to defend well and to watch out for the balls in behind. But the most important thing is just sticking to our game plan and playing our soccer. You know, they're coming to our home and we need to defend that. So I'm very confident in the team and, you know, that we'll have a good performance tomorrow.
What's the Champions Cup? I mean, you've only played one game, but you guys talk about your goals this year, and the Champions Cup is a great opportunity. How much does that mean to you guys on this team to show well in this tournament?
For sure. I mean, it definitely means a lot. I think the best part about our team is that we have mixed focus. You know, we want to focus in on MLS. We also want to focus on the Champions Cup, and we have 100% trust in all of our roster. You know, everyone needs to be held accountable to show up when they're selected upon and to step up, you know, if they're going to start in whether it's MLS or Champions Cup. We want to go out there and play with 100% and, you know, get a win.
Kobi, how is that? You know, kind of understanding the schedule between the MLS, the Champions Cup, all the different things you guys go around from having, you know, 3 games a month to 6 games, 7 games a month. How can people understand the rigor of a MLS season?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems very, very rigorous. But with obstacles comes like preparation. So I feel like we've been preparing very well. As I said before, every single person on the roster needs to be ready and mentally and physically prepared to play, because it is a lot of games, you know, playing games every 3-4 days, you know, mm-hmm. So it's very physically tiring, mentally tiring. So it just gives us more reason to stay focused, stay locked in, and just take it day by day.
I want to give fans a chance to get to know you better since you're new. You're from Lakeland, Florida. You're 20 years old, so you're very young, and you got a lot to look forward to. But I'm curious, growing up, why was soccer the sport for you? How did you latch onto the sport? What caused you to fall in love with this sport that now has caused you to dedicate your life to it?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think to start off with, my dad used to play soccer. My mom was also playing sports. She didn't play soccer, but she was a dancer and she ran track. My older brother as well, he was big into soccer, and my first memory is just when I was really young, we used to play FIFA together, and, I just fell in love with FIFA, and then that kind of transformed into my love for the game.
So the video game.
Yeah, so the video
Wow.
game FIFA was pretty interesting, and, it's just a special memory to have, just because I shared it with my big brother, who's, one of my biggest inspirations right now, and he's always there for me. So, yeah, I think that's when my love for the game started. And, just the more I started to watch actual soccer instead of playing video games, I just realized how great it is. So, yeah.
And it's taken you all over the world. I know you've been in France. What's the journey been like for you at such a young age to have been able to bounce all over, not just this country, but the world playing this game?
Mm-hmm. It's been very hectic, but I've learned a lot from it. Going over to France was a really, really good experience. There's lots of highs and lows, dealing with injuries and learning a new language, learning new cultures. At such a young age, it was difficult, but I'm really appreciative for that opportunity because I feel like it's helped me mature, and to be able to come to a club like Real Salt Lake at such a young age and with the ambition to play, you have to be mature. You have to own the spot. So I think my experience in France has definitely helped me be able to come here and compete for a spot.
Man, I always got to ask people this. You're Florida, you've been in Cali, France. What was the snow like when you first saw it?
Meaning the snow in Utah?
Yeah. When you first came here to Utah, you seen snow. Has it been cold? Like last couple of days, it's actually warm, but to some other people it's cold. But like, what was the cold weather and the snow like when you first experienced it here?
Definitely interesting. Originally, I am from Florida, so I love the hot weather. So I won't say that the cold is my friend, to be honest. But one of the first couple of days when I moved over here, I went over to Park City, I believe that's what it's called, and that was really beautiful because it was really heavy snowing over there. I quite like it. Yeah, so I've been enjoying it. It's a beautiful state.
Well, Kobi, it's been great to get to know you a little bit better, and it's great to have soccer back. Look forward to seeing how this all develops. A lot of young players in this team that are exciting with a lot of promise, and you're one of those guys. We appreciate you taking some time today to talk to us. I know the fans appreciate it, and they're really excited about what this team can do. Thanks so much, Kobi. We appreciate it, and good luck this week.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
That's Kobi Henry, center back for Real Salt Lake, one of the newest members of the club at 20 years old. Wow, Sly, 20 years. Can you imagine being a professional athlete at 20? That's pretty cool.
Man, what was that, 21, 22, somewhere around there?
Yeah, you can relate to it.
Oh, no, not like him. I think MLS, the soccer's on another level, especially when you go abroad. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being 19 years old and you're playing pro soccer in France?
What?
Yeah.
Traveling to Spain, doing all this stuff? Yeah. So it's definitely different internationally, but it's a different game, man. It's awesome. And as you said, you got to be mature to be able to handle the game, handle everything outside of it, be a professional so you're ready each and every day. There's a lot that goes into it. And getting that from a 20-year-old to be on the professional level, the collegiate level and professional level is very different. I feel like you have people on the collegiate level to help you through it, help you manage, understand what it is. When you get to professional, you're literally all out on your own. So if you're 19, 20 years old, being a professional, I tip your cap to all you guys, like the baseball guys that go straight from high school to the pros, and they're able to do that. Hey, that is a special talent, and as Kobi said, you got to be mature to be able to handle all that.
So Real Salt Lake plays Herediano in the Champions Cup tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. You can hear that match on 102.7 HD2. So KSL News Radio 102.7 FM HD2 if you have that in your vehicle or at home. You can tune into that game. And then on Saturday at 2:30 p.m., they will take on Seattle, the home opener at America First Field, 2:30 p.m. kick, and you can hear that on all the channels here on the KSL Sports Zone. All right, thanks to our guest, Kobi Henry, once again, and good luck to Real Salt Lake this week. We're going to take another break. When we come back, Would You Rather's next on JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win a 4-pack of tickets to the Salt Lake Off-Road Expo, also known as Florex, February 28th and March 1st. That's Friday and Saturday at the Mountain America Expo Center. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. I'll be with Alex Kirry at Slorex on Friday. We'll host the show live from there. All right, it's time for Would You Rather. And our producer Alex threw this in there, so I'll go with it. And I think it's reference to the conversation we had in the first block about the lottery.
Oh, NBA, okay.
It's random, right? It's not like the NFL where the worst team gets the top pick, right? We all know that. It's been that way since 1985. So you can tank all you want. It doesn't guarantee you anything. And the Hawks showed that last year. So the Hawks win the lottery, and they're able to add a young player to a core of a roster that was almost on the precipice of making the playoffs. And you look at the standings as I go there right now, and where are the Atlanta Hawks in the standings? Well, Quinn Snyder has the Atlanta Hawks and the 8th spot. Last year they finished 10th and missed the they lost in the play-in. So right now they're 27-31. They're 8th in the league, and they won the lottery last year. And I don't know how much that lottery winning has really helped them. You look at the roster, and Zachary Rizichet was the pick, and he's having a decent rookie season, but he's not setting the world on fire either. He's played 51 games this year, 24 minutes per game, 11.4 points, 3.5 rebounds. You know what? I mean, you expect more out of a number one pick, right? He was the number one overall pick out of France. So your would you rather is this. If you are the number one overall pick, would you rather join an experienced veteran team like the Atlanta Hawks or a young, inexperienced but energetic team built for the future like the Utah Jazz? Where you're going to get more minutes, you're going to get more shots, you're going to be relied upon more, but probably going to suffer some L's.
Yeah, right?
Rizichet could make the playoffs in his first year in the league. Not many number one overall picks get a chance to do that.
This is a good would you rather because I think it's very situational, right? It's clear the Jazz have been somewhat of a building process, right? Rebuild phase, but nobody knows when that's going to turn around, right? So I'm like,
no guarantees.
So like, if I go there, I'm going to get some experience, but like, it's also not great on my resume that I lose all the time, right? And so like,
ask Anthony Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns or anybody that's played for the Minnesota Timberwolves before the last 2 or 3 years about that.
Right.
How many lottery guys go somewhere to die?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't enjoy success until they get out of that first contract and go to another team.
And then you could go to the Hawks, right? The Hawks went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, 4 years ago?
That was John Collins is part of that team.
Right. And so like you have the potential of doing that. And anytime you get a chance in the playoffs, you're saying there's a chance, right? Playoffs? No, but like I think I don't know. That's tough. For me, I want the experience, right? Because here nor there, there's always scouts looking out no matter what team you're on. And trade deadlines, you could change in the middle of a year if you're having a significant year. The problem is you got teams like the Jazz who are purposely holding guys back, right? Like, and you got your Lauri Markkanens, your Jordan Clarksons who are constantly injured, don't play full seasons, and they don't get all pros or all-stars or anything like that, man. And so, like, that's extremely difficult. So I think that is something you got to weigh your options. But for me, I'm taking the experience. I'd go to the Jazz, get the experience. If the Jazz don't turn things around as far as make decisions on when they want to, like, be great, then I'm just going to do well enough that I'm going to be valuable for a trade deadline.
I'll go really quickly. We got to get out, but I want to just do a little exercise here. I want to go through the last few number one overall picks, and this will illustrate just how hard it is to find success as a number one overall pick. Riza Shea this year, it's a weird situation with the Hawks already being close to the playoffs, but they're still not guaranteed. So they're on that 8th spot. They're going to be in the play-in the East most likely. Victor Wembanyama, who is out for the year this year, and the Spurs are not going to make the playoffs. So after 2 years, Victor Wembanyama, who's this generational talent, will probably be the future of the league, still hasn't made the playoffs.
Don't have a winning record.
Again, this is a generational talent that in 2 years has not been able to do that. Paolo Banchero, the Magic made the playoffs last year, but that was his 3rd season.
And that was he made an all-star game, but they got out in the first round.
So there you go. Cade Cunningham with the Detroit Pistons. We know the struggles of the Pistons. Finally this year, that team has broken through, and finally, Cade Cunningham is playing at an all-star level.
Correct.
I believe he made the all-star team.
Yeah, he did.
So the year before that was Anthony Edwards, Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I think we can all agree he was drafted in 2020 out of Georgia. He is now a bona fide NBA superstar.
For sure.
Was on Team USA, won an Olympic gold medal. But remember, the Timberwolves, it took 2 or 3 years. They had to build that roster, and they had to have a GM that went all in. They make the Rudy Gobert deal. Now they've traded Karl Anthony Towns. Like they've gone all in on winning. And
Western Conference Finals last year.
But it took a minute. Zion Williamson, has that worked out for the Pelicans?
That was a terrible decision. 300 pounds trying to run up and down the court. That is not great in New Orleans.
I don't think it's worked out.
Great down there.
It's tough.
It's tough.
He needs to go to a place with less gumbo.
Or have a Salt Lake City fat loss.
There you go. Just learn how to manage your calorie intake on SLC Fat Loss. Go to slcfatloss.com to learn more. 2018, the Phoenix Suns picked DeAndre Ayton when they could have had Luka. Even Trae Young was available. They take DeAndre Ayton, who's now a member of the Portland Trailblazers that we saw last night.
He doesn't play.
Markelle Fultz, barely hanging on in the league in 2017. 2016, Ben Simmons.
Ugh.
How'd that go? I'll keep going. Karl Anthony Towns finally saw his promise in Minnesota. Now he's with the Knicks. We all agree he's an elite player, but he didn't win. He was known as a loser because his teams didn't win. He could not be the best team player on a playoff team. They had to go out and add some other guys. Andrew Wiggins wasn't able to reach his potential until he played with the Warriors. He's a role player. He's not a number one. Anthony Bennett was a bust. And then you finally get Anthony Davis in 2012 and then Kyrie Irving in 2011. But that's just the last 10, 15 years of the lottery. You pick number one overall.
It's not everything.
It's not a guarantee. But it's still worth it to poop for Coop.
Not about where you're drafted. It's where you end up.
You're absolutely right.
Where you end up. Is it the right fit? Everything. And that's where the Would You Rather is great because it's like, do I want experience or do I want to get on this veteran team where I can potentially learn from some veterans? But this is the NBA. Like, are you really getting the experience that you need from that, right? And so, yeah, that's a good Would You Rather.
The lottery isn't going to solve all your problems. You're going to have to make other moves and smart deals in the meantime. All right, great conversation. We're going to turn our attention to hockey next because the Utah Hockey Club is in action tonight, a game you can hear right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to chat with Scott Power, senior writer for the Chicago Blackhawks and the NHL for The Athletic. The Chicago Blackhawks are in town. Connor Bedard plays for them. The Blackhawks aren't very good, but they have one of the best young talents. It'll be interesting to get his take on all things NHL coming up next right here on JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.